Their schemes becoming more elaborate and more expensive. And if you've been a victim of vehicle theft, you know the nightmare. Stolen cars re-vinned, resold, and now recovered. Good evening. Gone in just a matter of seconds, and you're lucky if you ever see it again. These types of crimes can happen anywhere, and they're reaching a crisis point in Canada.
$1 million bust right here in the GTA. And how's this for unsettling? Police claiming many of the alleged crimes were inside jobs among those working in the business. CTV's John Musselman is live with our top story tonight. John.
Well, that's absolutely right, Michelle. And they were using vehicle identification numbers, VIN numbers, to get away with this fraud and steal these vehicles. 12 people have been arrested in connection with an alleged auto theft ring in the GTA, dubbed Operation Memphis by Peel Regional Police. Investigators say the accused were stealing vehicles from driveways and dealership lots and then fraudulently re-vinning the vehicles. The vehicle identification numbers like a car's fingerprint.
The investigation identified a group of individuals that were operating within the GTA and were responsible for sourcing re-vinned stolen vehicles, fraudulently re-registering them, and then proceeding to traffic those vehicles throughout southwestern Ontario.
Investigators say the accused used their pre-existing knowledge of the automotive and finance industry to complete these transactions.
Project Memphis was a complex, multifaceted investigation that led to the disruption and dismantling of an organized group, a theft crime ring that prevented significant insurance fraud here in Ontario.
In some cases, the buyers attempted to submit insurance claims by reporting their vehicles stolen with stolen VIN numbers. Amanda Dean is with the Insurance Bureau of Canada. She says vehicle theft has reached a crisis point in this country, and it ends up costing consumers.
Claims drive premiums. So in order to have money, in order to be able to pay future claims, it stands to reason that it does. Insurers, government, manufacturers, consumers, we all have a role to play in fighting auto theft.
81 charges have been laid, including trafficking in stolen goods, fraud over $5,000, possession of property obtained by crime, and forgery. This police investigation alone prevented $350,000 in insurance fraud. The recovered vehicles are valued at $1.2 million. And the accused in this case are from Hamilton, Toronto, Mississauga, and Brampton. Reporting live in Mississauga, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you, Michelle.
Thank you, John. Staying on the roads in the downtown street where public transit is king, but where travel times are creeping back up.
Largely thanks to a sizable number of rule breakers. So why are so many of them catching a free ride? CTV's Janice Golding is live downtown with more. Janice.
Hi, Nathan. At first, the King Street pilot project was deemed a resounding success. But now, despite a whole lot of restrictions on cars in the corridor, commuter travel times have never been slower. When the King Street Transit pilot project was launched in 2017, giving streetcars the right-of-way between Bathurst and Jarvis, travel times tumbled.
They were about 22 before the pilot went in, and we had that down to about 16 or 17 minutes.
A success story turned failure, with commuter travel times on the corridor now worse than they ever were.
Trip times are about 26 minutes now.
The pilot, which was made permanent in April 2019, made it illegal for cars to travel through intersections on King, and they were only allowed to turn right.
I found at first it was great, but now it just seems to be slow. I could walk faster than the streetcar goes half the time.
Most of the time, actually, if I'm in a rush, I'll take the bikes. I find they're far faster than the TTC.
A new study released by U of T's School of Cities looked at data from October 2017 to May 2023 and found that every day there are about 6,800 illegal turns and through movements at intersections in the corridor, but less than 0.3% are being ticketed by Toronto police.
It is taking longer, a lot longer, because they're not enforcing the regulations that they put in, so they're useless.
The U of T study says it's a missed opportunity for revenue in the city.
The ticket was $110.
Because those who are ticketed, like this Uber driver, receive tickets from $85 to $110.
The officer pulled me over and he said, did you see the sign? You're not allowed to go straight. I said, honestly, I didn't see it.
The city says it's partly due to a lack of enforcement, but beyond that,
It's largely because of the congestion on King Street, people looking for alternative ways around construction downtown.
road repairs that are causing a little road rage.
The city lets construction crews take over lanes, which slows everything else down again because nobody can get past the streetcars.
But the Transit Commission says with 45,000 people moving through the area every day, public transit needs to be prioritized. Now, if you're wondering how the math works out, according to the U of T study, in 2019, the year for which they have the most complete data, only about 17.5 tickets were issued every day, despite the fact there were more than 6,800 infractions. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
All right, thank you, Janice. Next is some developing news. A woman's in hospital with life-threatening injuries tonight, hurt in an apartment fire in North York. The flames and smoke first spotted around 2:30 this afternoon at a building on York Mills Road near the DVP. Crews found a woman in her 50s without vital signs and rushed her to hospital. A second person was also treated at the scene. The cause is under investigation. Straight ahead, the digital deal with Google, the multi-million-dollar pact with Ottawa to keep including Canadian news.
Live outside we go for a peek at the evening air. Did you bundle up today? That wind chill, anything but enjoyable. Plus, the flakes were flying at times. Fortunately, if you're not ready to jump right into winter just yet, we are in for a little warm-up, although those skaters might not care. Let's bring in to Lindsay Morrison, who's once again on the road as the Toy Mountain campaign continues. Lindsay, before we get to all the toys, what's happening weather-wise right now?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Michelle. It was chilly out there today, and not so much because of the core temperature, but you're right, because of the winds, and those winds were strong today. We had bursts of flurries, and now as we make our way through the night tonight, the flurries are tapering off, but the winds are sticking around. Here's a look at what we're dealing with weather-wise for this evening. It is still -1 degree here in the city of Toronto, but it feels like -6. Let's talk about those winds. They've been very gusty out of the southwest or west, but gusting to about 50 kilometers per hour. That could continue through the night tonight. On the satellite and radar, we're still tracking a little bit of flurry activity. Snow squalls and the lake effect event we've been monitoring, that's gradually coming to an end. Still a couple of advisories in place there. Here's tonight at a glance, just in case you are going to be doing some skating. Bundle up for this evening. We do have warmer weather in store for tomorrow, though. Now, if you are just joining us, we are in the Leaside community tonight at Access Storage, where we are building a toy wonderful guests we will be introducing you to on the show tonight. But for now, Nathan and Michelle, I'll send it back inside to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Well, let's forget about the flurries and freezing temperatures for a moment and think about the sunshine and sizzle of summer, something the taste of the Danforth is synonymous with.
But once again, the future of the Greektown staple is in question. Will the event go ahead? CTV's Mike Walker is live with more. Mike.
Well, Michelle, Nathan, we've been speaking with businesses along the Danforth here, and it appears that once again the popular street festival is in jeopardy. They tell us that the Greektown BIA has decided not to increase levies for its members, which is resulting in next year's Taste of the Danforth being canceled. Now, Taste of the Danforth returned this summer after a 3-year hiatus due to the pandemic and logistical issues with Cafe TO patios and bike lanes in 2022. We spoke with the owner of Soulas Modern Greek Cuisine, who is also a BIA board member, and he told us that fundraising is the big challenge. He said at last night's annual general meeting, the BIA voted against raising the levy for its members by nearly 20%, which would have been required in order to run the street festival. We're also hearing mixed reaction from people who live in the area.
To lose it, of course, is going to have an impact on everybody, on the restaurants especially, that they expected that extra income during the summer months. But again, raising the levy 20% is something that we cannot afford.
It's a shame that they have to shut it down because so many people love to come to the Taste of the Danforth.
I'm actually really sad to hear about that because I feel like it's an opportunity to really bring the community together, whether you're Greek or not, and it really just helps promote diversity and pluralism in the city, which is what Toronto's all about, I think.
I live here. It's the worst weekend of the year.
How come? What happened?
It's too many people. You can't get around. My kid always has to play baseball, and we can't get to the games because you have to go way around to get anywhere. People drive the wrong way on one-way streets, and it's dangerous. It's too many people.
Now, some of the businesses and restaurants we've been speaking with tonight tell us they are not aware of this decision, and they are quite surprised after learning about it from us. We have reached out to the Greektown BIA and the local councillor, Paula Fletcher, multiple times for comment, and at this point haven't yet received any response. The restaurant owner we did speak with told us he hopes that maybe there's something the city can do to help ensure that the festival continues. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Dissecting the plan to move the Ontario Science Centre, the province's proposal is under the microscope.
The government laying out its justification to relocate the facility to Ontario Place. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live with more. Siobhan.
Well, Infrastructure Ontario says this is all about making good financial sense, but we're hearing from opposition parties tonight that they think this is comparing apples and oranges. And Infrastructure Ontario even says that having a public tenant like the Science Centre at the waterfront could help sell and counteract ideas that there is privatization at the waterfront. It sat on the same plot of land near Don Mills in Eglinton since it opened in 1969. Now Infrastructure Ontario says it makes financial sense to pack up and move to Ontario Place.
If relocated, costs incurred by the Ontario taxpayer will be approximately $257 million less over a 50-year period when compared to remaining at Don Mills.
It works out to a savings of roughly $5 million a year. The savings mostly because the footprint of the Science Centre will be cut in half.
A bridge that leads to a complex of enormous chambers scattered down the hillside.
The business case says some of those bridges are failing. Only a quarter of those enormous chambers are being used. And they haven't changed a lot over the years and need serious TLC.
A minimum capital investment of at least $478 million would be required to restore the building to a passable condition for the long term.
Including big money to modernize the exhibits to make them more enticing in the face of declining attendance.
Some of those experience I did have in my youth in my school, and that's almost a century ago, so
maybe a little bit more modern, but of course size might be an issue.
The plan is to have even more exhibit space after the move. While the infrastructure minister insists the report makes the advantages of a waterfront science centre clear, the opposition is unconvinced.
This business case is nothing more than just a 78-page shell game.
It doesn't consider the costs associated with changes at Ontario Place, and the only savings they're looking at is because it's going to be a smaller building.
The interim Liberal leader says the government's been going about this all wrong.
You need to talk to people about what you want to do, not try to convince them that you made the right decision after you made the decision.
People who live and work near the Science Centre worry about losing it.
It would be a shame not to have this as part of the cultural hub, along with the Aga Khan Museum and the Japanese Cultural Center. The other thing is, not everything has to be on the waterfront.
Leaving behind a hole with an undetermined future. Now, the mayor has said that she does want there to be some science programming at the Don Mills site even after a move, but it's still really in those discussions to find out what that could look like. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Siobhan. Canadians looking for news can still search for it on Google. The web giant has agreed to support this country's media industry.
And as CTV's Kevin Gallagher tells us, the deal could have repercussions for an ongoing standoff with another tech behemoth.
The deal allows Canadians to continue searching for news on Google only 3 weeks before it was set to be blocked.
This is a historic development. It will establish a fairer commercial relationship between digital platforms and journalism in Canada.
To get an exemption from the Online News Act, Google will have to pay $100 million a year to Canadian news companies, indexed to inflation.
If there is a better deal struck elsewhere in the world, Canada reserves the right to reopen the regulation.
A Canadian media collective will distribute these funds to eligible media organizations, but it won't be clear how until regulations to this new law are released next month.
Google's going to play ball, and now it's going to go to the mat and work to shape these regulations.
Google had objected to what it called the unpredictable financial risk of the Online News Act, or Bill C-18, a law that aims to force web giants to pay Canadian news organizations for content that appears on their platforms.
To Google's credit, we can say that, it has cut itself an independent path, very distinct from Meta.
Facebook's parent company, Meta, started blocking Canadian news links on its platforms over the summer to protest the law, a ban that is hurting many small local news organizations.
We have lost considerably related to Meta. I really wish they could get back to the drawing board and at least talk to the government. It's becoming very, very difficult for us.
This deal with Google has not softened Meta's position. In a statement, the company says the only way it can comply with the Online News Act is by ending news availability for people in Canada. Kevin Gallagher, CTV News, Ottawa.
And you can read more about this deal on our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca. And remember to download the CTV News app.
In the Middle East, international mediators are working to extend once again the truce between Israel and Hamas.
16 more hostages were released today as a 2-day extension of the ceasefire is set to end in hours. CTV's Heather Wright reports.
On day 6 of this fragile truce, more hostages were driven out of Gaza. 2 Russian women seen here in a video released by Hamas as they were handed over to the Red Cross. 30 Palestinians are also expected to be released from Israeli jails. The stories of the hostages released over the last 5 days are beginning to emerge. Hidden in tunnels, many hostages say they were moved several times. Most went without bathing for their entire time in captivity and were only given small amounts of food to eat.
We're evaluating them for the weight loss, which is about 10 to 17% of body weight for most of them.
Concerns for the youngest hostages deepen today. Hamas claims 10-month-old Kafir, 4-year-old Ariel, and their mother, Shiri Bibas, are dead, killed in an Israeli airstrike. Israel says it's investigating this claim. Since the ceasefire began last week, loved ones have waited, wondering why the Bibas family has not been among the hostages released. As negotiations to extend this pause for a second time continue, the UN Secretary General today called for a full ceasefire.
The people of Gaza are in the midst of an epic humanitarian catastrophe before the eyes of the world. We must not look away.
The truce has allowed some people to return to their homes in Gaza, if only to see what little is left of them. We were shocked to see our homes, our streets, our lands, everything demolished, this man says. Israel's prime minister said again today this pause is only temporary. There is no situation in which we do not go back to fighting until the end.
The United States has told Israel if it resumes its ground campaign in Gaza, it must operate with greater precision to protect innocent life, especially in the south, where many civilians have fled. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Meanwhile, 4 hostages released this week by Hamas are the family of a Toronto man.
Tonight, emotional reunions amid stories of terror. Here's CTV's Allison Hurst.
A celebratory reunion for kids Ofri Yuval and Yuria Brodich and their dog, and an emotional one as they reconnect with their dad and family who they hadn't seen since being taken hostage on October 7th with their mom.
They're doing okay, but there are pieces there that are not, they're not super happy. There's still a lot of trauma that we can already see. And they lost a lot of weight.
Aaron Brodich is the kid's uncle. He happened to be visiting Israel from Toronto when they received news his family would be released.
It's hard to understand how they survived and how they went through this incredibly grueling experience. And Hagar, my brother's wife, she's the big hero in the story. Taking care of her family in captivity.
He shared no details on what captivity was like for his niece, nephews, and sister-in-law, only saying they were able to stay together, and Ofri stepped up to help her mom.
Hagar said Ofri was just an incredible number 2 person, helping her with the younger kids.
For weeks, Brodich and his wife Shari had been sharing their family's story, applying pressure on governments and NGOs to bring the hostages home.
This is our life now. This is what we do. We fight to get them back.
While that part of the fight may be over, Brodich says there are still many in captivity.
I hope the fighting
doesn't restart until all the hostages are out.
This past summer, Ofri spent 2 weeks at camp in Ontario with his daughter. Brodich says she wants to come back.
She loved it, and she's really looking forward to come back. She made a video for the camp, and people from camp made videos for her.
The camp director was at an event in Ottawa when she heard the news. Ofri and her family were free.
Other camp directors were coming up to me and hugging me, and just the joy in the room was palpable. You could feel it.
And hopes to welcome her with her whole family if they want next summer. Alison Hurst, CTV News.
The head of the Royal Canadian Navy is sounding the alarm. In a video posted online, Vice Admiral Angus Topshee says the force is in a critical state.
Colleagues and shipmates, the RCN faces some very serious challenges right now that could mean we fail to meet our force posture and readiness commitments in 2024 and beyond.
The commander says the West Coast Fleet is suffering because there's a lack of qualified people to maintain and operate the ships. And the Navy can sail only one of its new Arctic and offshore patrol vessels at a time. Topshee insists the Air Force and Army are in similar situations. That's because the Armed Forces Recruitment Wing has failed to meet its targets for more than 10 years.
Meanwhile, Boeing has reportedly been chosen to replace the military's aging patrol planes. The federal government's expected to announce the multi-billion-dollar deal tomorrow. 16 P-8A Poseidon surveillance planes are being purchased to replace the half-century-old CP-140 Auroras. A U.S. agency listed the deal at nearly $6 billion. Bombardier has argued its prototype alternative would offer a cheaper, more high-tech plane made in Canada.
The life and legacy of a beloved U.S. First Lady was honored in Georgia today. A private funeral was held for Rosalind Carter in the small town of Plains. It is where she and her husband were born. Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter was among those saying goodbye today to his wife of 77 years. Family and close friends gathered to pay tribute, speaking of her compassion, selflessness, and dedication to duty.
The Vatican gave an update on the Pope's health today. The pontiff sounded wheezy and limited his speaking during the weekly Wednesday audience. He has no fever, but a lung inflammation associated with breathing difficulties persists. The 86-year-old is continuing to receive antibiotic therapy. This week, he canceled a trip to the COP28 climate summit in Dubai.
A Japanese island has grown by 50 meters after this happened. The Coast Guard has released video of volcanic activity on Ujima Island. The eruption reached a height of 200 meters, and the island has increased in size since it was surveilled earlier this month. Navigational warnings and other advisories are still being issued. The vessels in the vicinity of the eruption are being urged to exercise caution.
It's a milestone moment in the restoration of one of the world's great churches. In Paris, installation work on the new spire at Notre Dame Cathedral has begun. It's made of oak and designed to be an identical copy of the one that collapsed in the 2019 fire. The new spire's framework should be finished by late December and will remain encased in scaffolding until the church's roof and ornaments are installed. The UNESCO World Heritage Site used to draw 13 million visitors every year.
Coming up, cutting the ribbon on an all-new Smile Zone. Hockey stars help unveil a Leafs-themed makeover aimed at helping kids through their hospital experience.
And I'm Pat Foran on Consumer Alert. Batteries in many products these days, they're also becoming more responsible for a number of fires. And the number of battery fires in Toronto has almost doubled over the last year. There are things you can do to protect yourself. I'll have that story. That's just ahead.
Well, what I love about this campaign is seeing kids help other kids. These are members of the Leaside community. They're part of schools. They're part of sports teams who have joined us tonight. And look at all the toys they've brought for community and kids in Southern Ontario, the GTA. We're live at Access Storage in Leaside. Jan, tell me a little bit about what it means to you to be a part of this campaign.
Well, Lindsay, we've been a part of this campaign since 2009, and I think the reason and why it's important to us to be a part of this campaign is right in front of us with all these smiling faces of these kids.
It's wonderful having them here. We packed the house once again.
Good.
And we're going to be hearing a little bit about Access Storage's contribution to Toy Mountain in just a moment. But I want to show you how you can help as well. Drop off a new unwrapped toy to any Toy Mountain drop-off location in the GTA and help us build this mountain of toys. We're going to take you through your weather forecast. And of course, we are going to continue to build a Toy Mountain! Live here on CTV News. We'll be right back.
Lithium-ion batteries are in many of the devices we use every day, including smartphones, laptops, toys, and e-bikes.
The small batteries provide a lot of power, but when used incorrectly, they can also be a major fire hazard. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Nathan and Michelle, last year Toronto's fire department had to deal with 29 battery fires. So far this year, that number has jumped to 51. In some cases, it's not known what caused the fires, but in others, officials say batteries are being used incorrectly or overcharged. Agnieszka Skye of Toronto says her family had a terrible scare this past summer. Her 2 children were riding in their battery-powered toy car when it started to smoke and then burst into flames.
Sometimes kids are playing on their own further away from their parents. Thank God mine were close to their father, because I feel like it could have ended much worse.
I was in my house and I smelled like a burning sensation. And I'm like, where is the smell coming from? I look at my nightstand and it's on flame.
Maya DiBiaco of Etobicoke was shocked earlier this year when her AirPods caught fire inside her AirPod case without warning and burned through her Gucci purse.
I was terrified. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening.
There has been a huge increase in the number of fires involving lithium-ion batteries. CTV News also did a story on a fire investigators believe was caused when a replacement third-party battery was used with a Dyson vacuum. There have also been multiple fires involving smartphones and e-bikes.
There's a lot of energy in a small package. When they fail, it goes into thermal runaway.
This video from the Fire Safety Institute shows how quickly a home can be engulfed in flames if a lithium-ion battery explodes indoors. To avoid battery fires, always follow the manufacturer's instructions, only use batteries designed for the device and charging cords that came with the product, store batteries away from flammable items, and avoid excessive charging.
We highly recommend not to overcharge your device. Once it reaches capacity, unplug it. Don't charge your device unattended.
Apple agreed to replace Bidiaco's AirPods with new ones, but she is still seeking compensation for her ruined purse. Saika also received compensation for the toy car that went up in flames, but says she won't be buying another one.
I'm never going to get a toy like this with a big battery in it ever again. You never realize that your children could be in such danger playing with toys, that things could change so quick.
And batteries that are drop damaged or altered in any way should not be used. And when their lifespan is over, they should be disposed of as household hazardous waste and not be thrown in the garbage or blue box. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
All right, back to the forecast. I got to say, I love seeing the kids from Leaside. My son used to play for the Leaside Flames. Always fun to watch.
Leaside, yeah, Nathan. They know how to give. And something tells me you're getting a big dose of toys there at Access Storage tonight, Lindsay.
Well, here's the thing, Michelle and Nathan. These are the early days of the Toy Mountain campaign. It's not even December yet, and I have to say how impressed I am with what's going on here at Access Storage. Jen, will you do us the honors and show us what's going on here?
Absolutely. My pleasure. We'll start off with our campaign.
Wow. Okay, so this is going to be filled to the brim by the end of December.
Absolutely. That's our promise, and we're hoping to have probably 100 of these filled across Ontario at our locations that are participating in Toy Mountain. So I guess my message out to everybody out there, all the supporters, is please drop by any one of our locations across Ontario with a new unwrapped toy, and we will get it to the Salvation Army. Absolutely.
And it's not just toys that you contribute, Jan.
Right. And this year we would also like to make a contribution to the Salvation Army's Toy Mountain campaign by presenting them with a check for $25,000 to help with building a mountain of toys.
$25,000. That is unbelievable. Erin, what do you think of this?
Thank you so much. The entire team at Access Storage here have been so great, and it really, our corporate sponsors really help us to build a mountain of toys so that every child has a happy Christmas. It's really great.
It's such a great point. And we're going to talk a little bit about the forecast, and then we're going to visit some more of our wonderful visitors tonight. We'll begin by letting you know that the weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. It's been chilly today, thanks in part to those winds, and those winds contributing to more in the way of lake effect snow. But we're starting to see this event wind down a little bit, which is great news. Quieter day for tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud in the forecast, and temperatures are going to rise. So the temperature in the morning, quite different from what we're going to experience in the afternoon. We'll show you that in just a moment. Here's midnight tonight, still looking at some light snow for Muskoka, for example, east of Georgian Bay. Mix of sun and cloud by tomorrow afternoon, even though it could be a bit of a cloudy start. Heads up for Friday. We do have a system that looks like it's going to swing through. Mainly going to be a rain event, but some mixed precipitation is going to be possible as well. Tonight's forecast low. Overnight, -1 degree, feeling like -7. Bundle up for wind chills like that in the morning hours tomorrow. But by the afternoon, check this out. A high of around 8-9 degrees. Very pleasant conditions for spending some time outside. It looks like it's probably going to be the warmest day of the week, although Sunday we're back up around 7 degrees. Generally an unsettled weekend forecast, mainly cloudy skies, chance of showers, quieter but mostly cloudy as we head into the early part of next week. If you're just joining us, we received a major donation from Access Storage. It's wonderful to be here in Leaside. We have the McGregor Carolers here who have been singing us some beautiful songs, and we have our children here who are saying hello and dropping off some toys as well. We also have a special message from a few of the other Access Storage locations around the GTA. Check this out.
Happy holidays from our Access Storage teams here in Kitchener.
Our Access Storage team here in Mississauga wishes you a very happy and safe holiday season.
Access Storage is proud to support Toy Mountain, and we would love to fill our storage units with a huge mountain of toys. Bring in your new unwrapped toy to any of our 100 Access Storage locations across Ontario to help bring a smile to a child this holiday season. Access Storage and Toy Mountain, helping families this holiday season.
Jingle bells, jingle bells. It's a beautiful night, Michelle and Nathan. I'll send it back inside to you in the studio.
All right, thanks so much, Lindsay. Also tonight, Christmas comes but once a year, so why not flaunt it? Exploring the maximalist Christmas movement where more is more in decor. And all those nostalgic pieces you remember from grandmas are back. Toronto Maple Leafs alumni converged at Humber River Hospital today,
helping to unveil an all-new Smile Zone designed with the blue and white in mind. CTV's Pauline Chan reports.
You can take the guys out of hockey, but you can't take the hockey out of the guys. Several former NHL stars came to Humber River Health for the grand opening of the latest Smile Zone, an interactive and colorful area where kids recuperate after undergoing day surgery. The project was co-founded in 2012 by Adam Graves.
It affects all of us. We all spend time in hospitals, and to put an area in the hospital where a kid can go up to Carlton the Bear and play on the iPad or get on a Zamboni to go to their treatment or play bubble hockey.
They're still a little bit scared and nervous, even though we really try to make it like an adventure. So coming out of the recovery room and coming into a place that looks non-hospital, looks very fun and colorful, and that decreases their stress and anxiety, increases their comfort and familiarity, makes them feel so happy.
Mandeep Dalawal, whose 8-year-old son Jeshan just had surgery, says the artwork does make a difference.
He's feeling good because then little he's feeling he's playing here and pictures is good.
And it actually helps with their medical recovery.
That helps them to recover quicker, have a less traumatic experience, decrease stress and anxiety, help the parents cope and manage better.
There are Smile Zones in 6 provinces, and this is the 380th and the first with the Toronto Maple Leafs theme.
And then hopefully in 2024, we're going to be obviously over 400 and in 10 provinces.
There are Carlton's footprints to guide you into the Smile Zone, and each of the rooms has its own theme. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
When it comes to the top music act worldwide on Spotify, it's probably no surprise who tops the list.
But there are some surprises and homegrown talent making the list. Our Andrea Case joins us now with more. Andrea.
Michelle and Nathan, good evening. Yes, from Forest Hill to Scarborough, Canadians are being heard and streamed around the world. The Weeknd captured the 3rd position on the most streamed artist list and the 4th on the most streamed album list. Interestingly, it's his 2016 LP, Starboy, which continues to shine. Drake, who shared the spotlight with his son Adonis this year, is a perennial chart maker, so whether it's his Certified Lover Boy, which was released this year, or his string of hits, they add up to number 4 in the world of streaming. No problem for Taylor Swift in 2023. With 26 billion with a B streams, Swift dominated the charts. It all adds up. Her record-breaking Eras tour, which will come to Toronto and Vancouver a year from now, and the Taylor's version of Speak Now in 1989. Just the latest in a string of accolades, including becoming the first female artist to reach a record-breaking 100 million monthly listeners streams on Spotify. There's no denying the popularity of Latin music. Puerto Rican Bad Bunny is the runner-up after a 3-year reign at number 1, but he retains the crown as the most streamed album globally this year and last, when Verano Sin Ti racked up 4.5 billion plays in 2023, becoming the most streamed album ever. When it comes to the song we wanted to hear the most, give the flowers to Miley Cyrus, and her hit Flowers was the most streamed song of the year, literally. It came out in January and earned 1.6 billion plays worldwide. As for what Canadians were listening to, of course, Taylor reigns supreme as the most listened to artist. But Morgan Wallen not only was the 3rd most listened to, he had the number 1 and number 5 albums in the nation. Baby, baby, something's telling me this ain't over yet. In 2023. And if you want to know how popular Latin music is, Peso Pluma is a 24-year-old from Mexico. He had 9 billion streams worldwide, and he is the 5th most popular artist in the world. Reporting for CTV News, I'm Andrea Case.
The Stars Tonight is brought to you by Lastman's Bad Boys court-approved liquidation sale.
The investigation identified a group of individuals that were operating within the GTA and were responsible for sourcing re-vinned stolen vehicles.
Updating our top stories, Peel police have arrested 12 people accused of operating a vehicle theft and car insurance fraud ring. Police recovered 9 stolen vehicles as part of Project Memphis, which was launched earlier this year.
At first, it was great, but now it just seems to be slow. I'm walking. I could walk faster than the streetcar goes half the time.
The TTC says travel times on King Street cars are as bad or worse than when the King Street pilot project was launched in 2017. Data from U of T indicates streetcar right-of-way is not working properly, with less than 0.5% of violations on the King Street priority corridor being ticketed by police.
A minimum capital investment of at least $478 million would be required to restore the building to a passable condition for the long term.
The province says moving the science center to the waterfront could save the city millions of dollars. It says the facility is in need of repairs, but the opposition says the province's plan does not address some key costs.
In business, General Motors is revealing just how much its new labor contracts with workers in Canada and the U.S. will cost the company. With more, here's Jacqueline Hansen from BNN Bloomberg.
GM says the higher wages won by its workers in Canada and the U.S. will amount to higher labor costs of about $575 per vehicle. GM CEO says the company will find ways to save money and be more efficient to fully offset the higher contract costs. Mary Barra pledged cuts in next year's budget, but didn't specifically say where they would come from. Earlier this year, GM also said it would cut costs by a combined $3 billion by the end of 2024. At the same time today, the company announced it is returning money to its shareholders in its biggest ever share buyback plan of $10 billion. Canada is facing a wave of retiring baby boomers, but a new report suggests many Canadians who are nearing retirement aren't financially prepared. In a survey by consulting firm Deloitte Canada, it found 55% of Canadians nearing retirement will have to make lifestyle changes to avoid outliving their savings. And just 14% would be able to handle the costs of some form of senior care. And we'll get the latest look at economic growth in Canada tomorrow. Statistics Canada will release GDP numbers for September and the third quarter as a whole. In a recent speech, the governor of the Bank of Canada, Tiff Macklem, said higher interest rates have cooled Canada's overheated economy and taken the steam out of inflation. He acknowledged that low growth doesn't feel great, but he said the alternative, years of high inflation leading to a deep recession, would be much worse. Let's take a look at some of the closing market numbers for today. The Canadian dollar is trading lower about 1/10 cent to 73.5 cents U.S. West Texas Intermediate oil gained almost $1.50, getting close to $78 U.S. a barrel. As for stock markets, the TSX added almost 80 points to end the day at 20,116.2. That is the latest in business. I'm Jacqueline Hansen of B&M Bloomberg.
There are more and more of them on the road every day, but a survey by Consumer Reports finds electric vehicles have proved far less reliable on average than their gas-powered counterparts. EVs made from 2021 through 2023 had nearly 80% more problems than vehicles that were gas-powered. Owners most frequently reported trouble with battery and charging systems, as well as flaws in how the vehicle's body panels and interior parts fit together. But the magazine suggests overall reliability will improve as automakers gain more experience in the new technology.
A reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight, and a special shout out to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Some holiday season stories for you now. We start with a Michigan man who is doing everything he can to spread Christmas cheer on the water.
Santa knows about the Christmas tree boat, and he lets the kids know, I know how to find you, I can find the boat, so make sure your dad's got the boat lit up out there. So that's a thing. I don't think this is going to end anytime soon. The kids really enjoy it, the community embraces it, and we're happy to do it too.
Every year, Frank Sipker launches a boat on Glen Lake. Secured to the vessel is a lit Christmas tree. This is the 9th year Sipker and his kids have put together the festive celebration. This year, they added multicolored lights to really help that tree stand out.
In Germany, the main shopping street in Berlin is sparkling tonight. About 500 trees with Christmas decorations have been lit. Around 4.5 kilometers are usually illuminated every year, and about 140 kilometers of lights, or 140,000 individual LED lights, hang from the branches. The displays have had funding problems in the past, and this year, the Christmas project needed donations to go ahead. The lights will be switched on daily until January 6th.
Are you into holiday decor? There are those who love a minimalist style. Then there are those who think that's a bore.
You might have noticed people embracing a maximalist Christmas approach. Bright and bold colors and nostalgia. As CTV's Peter Sperling reports, it's the sort of look Clark Griswold would love.
It's a holiday decorating movement that's displayed all over social media. A style that has even the White House joining in. Maximalist Christmas is everything big, bold, colorful.
I think Christmas has always been a maximalist look. I just feel like people are embracing it more now than ever.
And nostalgic.
I think it makes them feel good and reminds them of their childhood.
And this year, it's a feeling and look many are going for.
In today's world, where so much is going wrong and we're just seeing it, Christmas and Christmas decorations really give you that warm, fuzzy feeling.
Gone are the simple white small LED lights. Old-style colorful big bulbs are in. Plain tree ornaments are out, replaced by fancy, shiny.
The decorations could include things you may have not seen for decades, like these colorful tree toppers and icicles.
What's the first thing in your basket today and why?
Tinsel.
And why is that?
Well, because my mother used to do it, and for many years it wasn't a thing anymore. And just a couple of years ago, I just decided I got nostalgic, and I thought, I'm going to start doing it again.
At Ottawa's Tinseltown Christmas Emporium, customers are excited.
When I was a kid, I really wanted like sparkly and lots of stuff on the tree.
I would have like 10 Christmas trees if I could.
Yeah, I mean, maximalist Christmas is kind of what I do.
Chio Dream Home designer Tanya Collins says maximalism isn't just for Christmas now.
Absolutely. I feel like there's definitely a movement towards moodier, richer, deeper color tones.
Home is where the heart is.
I think people are enjoying home more than ever before, especially post-pandemic. We really care about our interior environments, and when we're entertaining friends and family, we want it to feel cozy and rich, especially at this time of the year.
Peter Sperling, CTV News.
Let's keep the holiday cheer rolling. Check in with Lindsay at Access Storage. Hey, Linz.
Hey, Michelle and Nathan. Yeah, it's been a wonderful night here because we have been busy building a toy. And these kids have been absolutely amazing. They're starting a bit of a toy train here, dropping off these toys. And again, it's been a great night. Aaron, will you do us the honors and tell us what our toy tally is now at?
Yes, so far 2,873 toys. We are supporting over 60,000 kids in the GTA. So if you can keep donating, please do.
Yes, this is a great start, but it's true we have a lot of work to do and there's still a few weeks to go, of course. Here's one more look at your 7-day forecast. Weather-wise, we are in for a little bit of a change tomorrow, but then we get into some unsettled weather for the weekend. It's been a wonderful night here in Leaside. I'm going to send it back inside to you, Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. Well done, everyone. Well, that's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all these wonderful helpers, thank you for watching and have a fabulous night.